African, still processing. I guess it's not used to me going that long. But one thing, I had conversations with people, especially musical artists. There were many, the known and the unknown, and I keep the names and genders maybe private, just because private conversations. I'm not one to reveal private conversations. We weren't raised like that, but one thing that artists are getting more of right now, they're art understanding it. When I say artists, any type of creatives, and if you're a business person, creatives too, they're finding out sometimes the hard way after trying 5 years and not getting any traction that you can't do it alone. So when I'm talking to people, it's almost like I'm prepping them for an interview, and sometimes I'm prepping them to be a client. But what they have found out is you can't make $100,000 or more in the business and be able to do the creative and do the business. And if you're doing 2 million, 5 million, because some people are really winning, and you're in Nigeria and you're in Kenya and you're all in all these places, you aren't going to be able to handle and juggle everything. There's a creative brain, then there's the business brain, and you're gonna have to pay someone. And so I was talking to one person, and like, but it's hard. And I'll say she. It's hard to find somebody who gets it that I don't feel like I'm training. And I asked, and I said, well, that's a hiring issue. You're hiring um, below your knowledge. You need to hire people who know more than you. And of course, everybody, when they come to you, says, I've been doing this for this. Everybody's worked for this company and that artist and that artist. That's the reason I don't name drop, even though I have been asked and I have been offered money to give the whole detail. I've been offered most of some money that a lot of people could not say no to, but the tell-alls don't interest me. And so I said, you're trying to hire below, and I said it's probably because you're trying to pay for a certain skill set below, or you don't want to have somebody smarter than you, and that doesn't go well. You can do that if that's where you're secure at, because she was a smart creative, and I would say friendly for when people don't know your angle. Sometimes a lot of artists and creatives don't get it. Like, this is why the Cardi B's win. This is why the Ryan Seacrest's, the Steve Harveys, the E40s, Matthew West. These people, when you talk to them, are pleasant. And I'm not talking to anybody from like a fan standpoint, but I've met some of these people in various places, and I'm not saying we are buddy buddy. We don't represent any of the people that I had spoke about, but they're pleasant to everybody. And when you talk to people about them, they're pleasant. And there's also people who are in the industry who are hiding their lifestyles, and people know it for when they came out, and now they have to pretend to be something that they're not. But when you're looking for to build a team, when you're looking for especially management or an agent, which my company, we serve both, consultants, whatever you want to call us, you have to be honest, and you have to be pleasant to work with us. We don't take problem children, because all of them are going to be a problem somewhere down the line, where maybe someone's not listening, maybe somebody's doing something that their ship is going to totally sink, and then they're going to start blaming people and saying, hey, like you see on VH1, they always say management stole from me, or Don King did this, this person did that, Bob Abram did this. Notice how no one's ever said that about Al Heyman. And I love the bio of Al Heyman. I wish he would talk more and give the game, but I'm sure he has his own way of doing it. And he's like, I'm not trying to do tell-alls. He's not trying to be hate Al Heyman for making black men rich in boxing and film. And it's a genius move to get somebody like an Al Heyman. I call myself the young Al Heyman and the black Frank Sinatra, you know. But a lot of people don't want to be told what to do. A lot of people have a hard time not just listening and comprehension, but following through. And a lot of times that's because of different reasons, but people's history, or they want to be the genius, or that they feel like that's not why they got into what they're doing. I didn't get into playing that piano like that to listen to you, Kelly. I'm trying to do what I want to do, and I've been doing it, and it's working, and that's cool. At what level is it working? That's a whole nother thing. Well, how can you tell me what to do if you've never done it? And I stop people right there, and I say, you've been in this industry how long? And I say, I'm waiting. Okay. Okay. We don't even have to talk money. You've been in the street how long? Okay. Yeah. Go ask about me. To the people who matter behind the scenes. You can go to South Africa. You talk to the right people. You say my name, they're gonna know. You can go to London, go to England, go certain places, right? And it's never like, oh, who am I? Who am I? But the reason why people give me, some people give us thousands and thousands of dollars, like I'm always, thousands and thousands and added on, and I'm never shocked. I'm never shocked. I never talk about how much money, because that's none of your business. But I know one thing, God willing, we keep living, we'll still be around like 10 years ago or like 20 years ago. And I had another similar company that just called it different and started doing things, differently. And will you be around? Will you still be, looking for cash apps and Zelle payments? Thirsty, hungry. So you got to have a trainer. You got to have a manager. You got to have somebody who actually cares for you and not just taking your money. I personally, we as a company, and I know me personally, I say no more than I say yes, because I got to look and evaluate the type of person and problem. Because if you think we're going to do everything for you without hiring more people, you're wrong. If you think that you can, I love the story of Dame Dash, but when you hear and you see the videos of him talking to people like that, you're not allowed to talk to me like that. And it don't mean we're gonna fight. It don't mean anything like that. Because I've had clients where we've said, "Hey, sounds like you're angry. Sounds like we need to separate. Because I'm not your son. I'm not your spouse." And we train every day. And if you wanted to put on gloves, we could. But I ain't getting paid for that. I don't get paid to fight. I get paid to love on people and make sure you don't go broke and that your family can eat for the rest of their life. If you can listen. Escúchame. If you can hear. Unfortunately, and the late great Chris Chicago, when I first met him at, I believe it was a let me not say that event, because it might not be around anymore. But when I met him, and he had talked to everyone, but just personal conversations we had, and he had recently passed. And young dude too, we were around the same age, if not the same age. But he said, I met so and so artist, and now they have a bigger house than me. And he said things that other people who are I really respect. I really respected Chris Chicago. And other people that I respect, and say, if you don't love people when they're broke, don't take them on. Because when they get rich, you really see who they are. I also think Ray Daniels said something similar, which, we've talked to Ray Daniels people. We'd love to, be able to talk to Ray Daniels on my podcast, because Ray has his flow of how he does things and his style, but I kind of want to take it somewhere else. God willing, it'll happen if it's meant to be. Because the difference, like Ray is, music wise, up there. And when people don't listen to Ray Daniels and people like that, and the Charlie Braxtons, a mentor of mine when I was young, um, a historian of this. It's like y'all don't want to learn. And so I've heard all the things from other people coming up in this game, and so and so didn't want to listen. Now so and so's broke. Now so and so's on VH1 behind the music saying so and so they took my money. No, they didn't. You didn't know how to manage your money, and you didn't listen, and you didn't trust anybody, or you did this fake trust where you expected everything to be laid out for you like you were some type of sultan or king or queen, a diva or devo. So I really evaluate the type of issues I want to deal with, the type of people. Because for me to take my time at this point where life is just so blessed, to stop doing something maybe that I want to do, like work on Millionaire X or other platforms like that, or have conversations with people, I have to take it out and say, we have to prove ourselves to this person so we can show why they're paying us $10,000 a month, why they're giving us 15, 20,000, 40,000, right? Um, and then when you get certain types of money, the things, especially when you travel internationally, things you have to deal with, people think, well, you have that money liquid to give me. And that's the part that can get dangerous, where you have to, watch where you go. And like I said, I just love being in these $5 or less jerseys, fresh off the street, and nobody knows my name, nobody bothers me. Because if I was to pull up and, whatever, I put on fancy stuff sometimes, and you see the difference. But you pull up in the Rolls Royce with the driver, and they open the door for you, and the attention that you get. I don't need that attention. I'm not going to say it doesn't feel good, all eyes on me. It's like being in first class or flying private, and people, you waving to people, they looking at you. I've heard it where I got my headphones half on, half off, like always, just always ready, right? And I've heard wives say a couple times, if not more, oh, we should have got these seats. And, that's pressure on the husband. Maybe he didn't have it like that. And, that's a whole nother video that women don't understand, the pressure that sometimes they can put on the man. And for all I know, the women could have made more money than the man, right? But the man is thinking on a different thing, like, but do I need that? Because not everybody needs first class seats. I do. That's something for me. That's for me, for when I'm flying, and if it's available and it's one of those flights, because sometimes you get on, flights and you last minute and you just need to get there. So I get it, but it's a blessing to be able to sit back and cross your feet like this and not hit anybody. It's a blessing. That seat leans all the way back. Oh man, Steve Harvey had a beautiful thing many moons ago about first class. And I remember just being so happy because I was young when I had these experiences. So I've been able to do this for decades, and no one has had to understand it. And you don't have to pay for it either, directly. You can pay an invoice. But even when, my kids like, man, hey, what happened to the seats? Oh man, we got these tickets late. Can you imagine kids? Who they have their book series and all that they do, but kids talking about, hey, what's up with the seats? Politely, respectfully. And I don't have to explain anything, but I do just to let them know that's a blessing. It's an honor to be able to fly, especially when you got 10-hour flights and 15-hour flights. You're going to Asia and Africa and different places with your family. That's what it's really about. What experiences can you give and share with them? So as many times as I've been on planes by myself, the best times are with the family. But what I wanted this video to be about is management you need. Sports agents you need. Consultants you need when you're making enough money to go to the club, buy sections, get cars, this, that. And a lot of y'all don't know about money because you don't study money. You don't go pick up a Dave Ramsey book. You like what Grant Cardone scams and says, you like what Robert Kiyosaki. I've read many Robert Kiyosaki books and Grant Cardone books, just to hear what they're saying, but I don't like the spirit behind it. It's not a holy one to me. People always first, like Susie Orman says, and their stuff is, they're focused on what they're focused on. To each his own, and they could care less what I think. And it's not just because you disagree with the way someone's lifestyle is, you don't have to be a part of it. You don't have to speak too much on it. But those aren't people I follow. People always mention these smooth talkers that tell you how easy it is to get rich. I don't know. The poor you'll have with you always if you know your scripture. And all these people claim to be, God-fearing. And that doesn't mean that you're perfect, but it means that you can follow that book at least a little bit, right? Man, none of us are perfect. But you need management. You need somebody to have your back who won't hit you over the head, and if you're in the hospital, can call the nurse and say, hey, our person needs some help, whatever, big or small. But don't blame anybody if you end up even in business and you don't get what you want. When you had the money, you blew the money, you consistently, when you travel consistently alone and you're not meeting up with people, there's something in you that there's some type of solo spirit, and I see a lot of it. Just because you have nice things and lashes and buying body parts and clothes, it don't mean you're winning. And I can see how shallow you are in some of those things. I know it's lights, camera, action because you got to be on YouTube and TikTok and all these things. But yeah, you got to figure out how they want you to read that obituary. Think about that. So I just wanted to give you all that game real quick. Think about how you live in your life. Always comment, always like, but most importantly, share the game with somebody that'll change their life. Download that MillionaireX.ai app. Get on the website. Y'all be blessed.